Hey everybody, welcome back to Mr. Martin's Science Corner. Our first experiment, we are going to use that glass jar that I asked you to find in the introduction video. And so for this experiment, we're going to be sprouting some beans or some seeds and watching what happens as the sprouts grow. So for equipment, for materials, what you're going to need are that glass jar, or a glass jar that hopefully you've located. Again, if you don't have a glass jar, plastic one works just as well, or almost just as well, for this experiment at least. But clear is the key. You're going to need some water. It's probably actually best just to do this one over the sink, but you're gonna need water. You're gonna need some paper towels, probably 4 or 5 paper towels depending on the size of your jar, so not a whole roll. You're going to need a spoon or something with a long, thin edge of some sort, because we're going to use that to push some seeds in. And then lastly, you will need some seeds of some sort. So I have 3 types of seeds. I have 2 types of beans, which work really well. I have garbanzo beans, and I have red beans. I think these are just called red beans, right? Red beans. And then I have some wheatgrass seeds. They're pretty small, so I'm just gonna show you the bag. They look like, well, they look like this. There you go. And so if you have cats or something, then maybe you plant these so your cats can eat the grass that comes up. But those work great too. But pretty much any seed will work. The bigger the seed, the better, because if the seed is bigger, then the sprouts will be bigger, and we can better see what is going on. So let's get to it. So take the lid off your jar and then put maybe 4 or 5 paper towels inside the jar, depending on the size of your jar. If you're using a giant jar, you'd need a lot more paper towels. So it's probably actually best to use a smaller jar for this experiment. So let's see, I'm gonna take off maybe 4 towels here. Oh, and make sure you ask your parents before you start using their paper towels, just to be sure, right? All right, so we're gonna roll these up a little bit, wad them up, put them in that jar. And we don't want it to be super packed, but we want it to be kind of snug. So again, for this size jar, I used, I think, 4 paper towels. All right, so a little bit snug. And then so what we're gonna do with the water is, again, if you wanna just use a sink, that's great. I'm just gonna pour it in. And so I'm gonna pour it in so that the paper towels are all soaked. I'm gonna put enough water in to soak the paper towels. And then I'm gonna add a little more even so that there is some water sitting at the bottom. We don't wanna fill the whole thing because that'd be too much. But that's just about right. So I don't know how well you can see that, but you can see that there's a bit of water still at the bottom, but the paper towels are all soaked. All right? And so then we're gonna take our beans, and I'm just gonna use all 3 of the types that I have, because, you know, why not? And we're gonna drop them in on the side, so that you can see them, is the best. And then gonna drop them in, kinda push them down a bit on the outside of the glass so that they're visible. So do a few of those. And the paper towel should be snug enough to hold it in place so that it doesn't sink all the way down to the bottom where the rest of the water is. So I'm gonna put a few more in here. I'll do 3 of each type of seed, and then I'll do some of these wheatgrass seeds too. So you might want to put, I don't know, 10 or 12 seeds in total. Push them down a bit so that they're gonna get nice and wet with the water in the paper towels. All right, so hopefully yours will look something like this. If it doesn't look like this, that's fine, but something like this. So something where the beans or the seeds are sort of suspended along the sides of the container by the paper towels. All right, so then we're gonna put the cap on and then find a window and just put it in the window. So since we're in Seattle and it's not going to be super sunny here for a while, except right now, I guess, you can probably just put it in any window and it'll be fine. If you're going to do this experiment again in the summertime when it's really bright, it's probably best to not put it in direct sunlight, but for now, pretty much any window should be fine. And so what we're going to be looking for is over the next few days, you're going to see these seeds and beans start to sprout, and hopefully, unless they're super old or just sometimes various beans don't sprout for whatever reason, but most of them should. And so what we're going to see are, of course, little sprouts coming out, and we all know that when something sprouts in outside in the backyard or in the forest or wherever, a little green, usually green shoot pokes up, right? But what we usually don't see is what's going on underneath the soil. So really this is what this is going to show us. So a couple of things that I would like you to ask yourselves and observe as we are watching these things grow is where are the sprouts or the shoots coming from? How many are there in each seed or in each bean? Are they different colors? Are they going in a certain direction? And then any other thing that you'd like to observe is, of course, excellent. So we'll keep talking about that and watching these grow together. If you have any questions in the meantime, I have set up an email. You can email me anytime at Mr. Martin's Science Corner at gmail.com. And of course, please subscribe so that you can get any updates or videos as soon as they're posted.